In this video, we're going to look at equations involving brackets. So, for the first example here, we have an equation, 5 bracket x plus 3 equals x plus 23. Now, the first step if you have an equation with brackets in it is to multiply out the brackets, and then we can solve it like any other equation. So let's start off by multiplying out the brackets here. We'll start with doing 5 times x is 5x, and 5 times positive 3 is positive 15, and that's the brackets multiplied out. We then need to write the rest of the equation after that though, so that's equal x plus 23. We now have an equation with x at both sides. The first thing I want to do is get rid of this x here. Remember, the ultimate goal of an equation is to get x only at this side and a plain number at this side. So let's remove the variable from over here. So take away x, and therefore, because it's an equation and sides are equal, I need to keep them equal by doing the same thing to both sides. So that's going to be 4x plus 15 equals, and we have x take away x, which means that's 0, that disappears, and I'm left with this positive 23, so just 23 in that space there. We're then going to subtract 15 from both sides, leaving me 4x at the left hand side of the equation and 8 at the right, and then we're going to divide both sides by 2. So x is equal to 4. Now look at a slightly harder equation here. In this one here we have x plus 1 all squared in brackets, and that's equal to x bracket x minus 5. So the first thing to do is rewrite this. When you see x plus 1 all squared, remember that doesn't just mean square this and square this, it's the whole bracket that's being squared. So the first thing we're going to do is write it out as x plus 1 multiplied by itself, so multiplied by another x plus 1, and that's what that x plus 1 all squared means. And then I can start to multiply out this other side here. So I've got equals, so that's the next part, equals, and multiplying this out, x times x and x times negative 5 is x squared minus 5x. And that then brings us on to our next line. So we then have to multiply out this double bracket. So remember, to multiply out the double bracket, x times x is x squared, x times 1 is positive 1x, 1 times x is another positive x, and 1 times 1, positive 1, and then again keeping this all as it is. Right, what I probably want to do at this stage is I'm going to start to simplify slightly. So any opportunity you get in these questions to simplify, it's usually a good idea to take it. So this part here, before I go any further, I'm going to bring these two terms together. So this plus x, positive x plus x, that can be simplified to positive 2x. Okay, so I don't want to be doing too much in my head here. I want to just simplify as I go, put all of my thoughts down on paper here, and then I can start to solve that equation. Now, when we're solving the equation here, what I want to do probably is take away x squared from both sides here. I don't want to have an x squared over here, so I'm going to remove it from this side. It just so happens that there's 1x squared at this side. So when you take it from both sides, take away x squared, take away x squared, these will cancel and these will cancel. And what that'll leave me with is 2x plus 1 on the left-hand side of the equation, and then be really careful with this. It's not 5x left here, it's negative 5x. So negative 5x. The next step again, because I don't want to have x at this side of my equation, is I'm going to get rid of this negative 5x by adding 5x to both sides, which is going to leave me 7x over here, plus 1 equals 0. Okay, and now I need to get rid of this constant from this side. I only want this side over here to have x's on it, remember. So I'm going to take away 1 from both sides. So minus 1 minus 1. That's going to leave me with 7x at the left-hand side, and negative 1 at the right-hand side. I'm going to then divide both sides by 7. So x equals negative 1 over 7. In this last example, what we're going to look at is we're going to look at forming equations. So this question here says the rectangles above have the same area. Find x. Now there's a bit of algebra involved in these, and the question is saying two things are the same. Now when two things are the same, we can make them equal to each other. That's what the same means. And that is often, when you see that in a question, it's a prompt for you to set up an equation. So if it says these rectangles have the same area, then what we can do is we can say, well, area of rectangle 1 is equal to area of rectangle 2. So already we've set up an equation. Two things are the same, they are equal to each other. The next part is to try and put that, or connect that to these rectangles above. Now, the area of a rectangle formula is length times breadth. Now the length is x plus 4 and the breadth is x minus 3, so length times breadth would look like this. X plus 4 multiplied by x minus 3. And over at the other side, length times breadth is x multiplied by x minus 2 for this area. So x, let's see, x bracket x minus 2. So what I now have is I have a situation where I've taken this idea of two things being the same. I've said, well, area 1 is equal to area 2. And then I've worked out what an expression for area 1 is and an expression for area 2 is, and I've made them equal as well. From there, it's just an equation with brackets. So we're going to multiply out the brackets. X times x, x squared. X times negative 3, negative 3x. X times 4, positive 4x. Positive 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. That's the left-hand side of that equation done, so that's this part. We're now going to go on to the right-hand side, the other side of the equal sign. X times x is x squared, and x times negative 2 is negative 2x. From there, we can start to solve that, but what I probably want to do at this stage is, just like the last example, if I have an opportunity to simplify something, then I'm probably going to take it. It just means it's easier to deal with. So in the middle here, I have this minus 3x plus 4x. That can definitely be simplified. So x squared, negative 3x plus 4x is positive 1x minus 12 equals x squared minus 2x. Now, again, in this question here, I'm trying to get x equals. So any x's over at this side or this right-hand side of the equation I want to get rid of. So that x squared, I'm going to get rid of that. So I'm going to take away x squared from this side, which means I have to take away x squared from this side as well. And because there's only one x squared there, they will effectively cancel each other out here and here. And I will be left with just x minus 12. And over at the other side, because I've got rid of these, I'll be left with this negative 2x. And again, be careful, it's negative 2x you're taking down, not just 2x. Next step is to get any x's off of this side. So I'm going to get rid of that negative 2x by adding 2x here and doing exactly the same to the other side. That's going to leave me 3x's at this side, take away the 12, and that's going to be equal to 0. From there, I'm going to add 12 to both sides. I've not left myself enough space here, so instead of writing, well, let's see if I can fit it in, plus 12, so that's 3x equals 12, and then from there, I'll just bring that back up here, 3x equals 12, I would divide by 3 and divide by 3, and that gives me x equals 4. Okay, so the question just says find x, so x is 4. Sometimes the question might say find the length and breadth. Now if it says find the length of rectangle 1, that's this line here. If I know x is 4, well I now know the length is x plus 4 or 4 plus 4, so the length would be 8. Okay, here are two questions for you to try based on what we've just looked at. So solve this and solve this. This is a good point for you to pause the video and either press play when you've gone over the first one or when you've gone over both of them to go through the solutions. Okay, the first answer here, we are going to multiply out the brackets, giving me 6x, and 6 times 3 is 18. That's equal to 42. We're then going to subtract 18 from both sides, which is going to leave us just 6x over at this side, and 42 take away 18 is 24. And then we're going to divide both sides by 6, leaving me x equals 24 divided by 6 is just 4. For the next example, what we're going to do is we're going to multiply out these brackets. So x times x is x squared. X times negative 2 is negative 2x. Positive 1 times x is positive 1x. And positive 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. Over the other side of that, we're going to multiply x by x to get x squared, and x by 1 to get positive 1x. Now, as before, I've got an opportunity to simplify something here, so rather than leaving this being this long expression here, I'm probably going to simplify this down a little bit. So negative 2x plus x can be simplified to negative 1x. So let's say, well, I've got x squared, and it's really these two parts, remember, I'm simplifying. So they are going to come to negative x, and then the minus 2 at the end, x squared plus x. The next step is to take away this x squared from both sides. Remember, I don't want to have x's at this side of my equation at all, so let's start with the x squared. So take away x squared, take away x squared. They're going to cancel each other out, and I'm going to be left with what's left over, which is negative x minus 2 equals x. The next step, get rid of this x. So again, we don't want to have x's left at the right hand side of our equation, so take away x, take away x. That negative x here, take away another x, is negative 2x minus the 2 that was already there, and x take away x is 0. What we can then do is we want to get rid of the constant from this side, because at the end we want to only have our plain numbers or constants over here. So we're going to add 2 to both sides to get rid of that negative 2. So we have negative 2x equals 2. And lastly, we're going to divide by whatever is multiplying the x at the moment. So divide by negative 2, divide by negative 2. So that's x equals, and remember, 2 divided by negative 2, well, it's positive divided by negative. So my answer is going to be a negative. And then it's just 2 divided by 2, which is 1. So my answer is negative 1.